So, good evening, everyone. I am Luis Miguel Zuluaga, an alumnus of Southridge from batch 93, and also currently a parent with my son Inigo, enrolled in grade 6. So, again, thank you for coming to the open house and considering Southridge as one of your options to enroll your son. I was asked by Southridge management to elaborate on what factors helped my wife and I decide to enroll our son in Southridge. And we came up with three basically. The first two of which are probably the more obvious ones, and which you're also considering. Why you're also considering to put your son in Southridge. No, the first is that it's an all boys school. That does not need further elaboration, basically. For us, it will help them compartmentalize and concentrate on what needs to be done in school, and not have unnecessary distractions of socializing with the girls, especially when they get older. My wife and I felt that the socializing would come eventually, that they would not be too far left behind because they have friends, siblings, who would help them. And even the activities in school, such as Father's Day, which is a culminating activity towards the end of the year, where the older students, the high school students, organize pretty much a fair where they invite family and friends, their girlfriends, whoever, to come in to campus and to support them. They have concerts and sports activities, etc. So I think we felt the socialization would not be lost going into the all boys program, and that but it would help them focus more on the things they need to do when they go to school. The second factor we considered was the other obvious factor. Sorry, was the Catholic background of Southridge, the Catholic influence, and in Southridge's case, the Opus Dei influence. Um, my wife and I feel that being a Catholic is a 24/7 work in progress, and that it needs to be present in all aspects of our lives. Um, and this, for us, lines up with the Opus Dei philosophy, which I'm sure may have been explained or will be explained in some later portion of tonight's program, that of incorporating spiritual life in everything we do, professional, social, and family. So we felt that having that would help our sons build our sons' foundation, or help strengthen the Catholic foundation. Um, Whatever we do at home, or he sees at home, because my wife is very active with youth groups. I myself used to be active with the youth groups, but now I'm concentrating more on being a Eucharistic minister in Magallanes, which I have been for the past 20 years. So it's important for us, my wife and I, that our children see that we are involved in these sorts of things, and that they can do the same, or that they should do the same eventually. The third, which might not be as obvious but to many, but for me personally is something that was very, very important, uh, was the smallness or intimacy of Southridge, the Southridge environment, for lack of a better term. Um, Everybody knows or has the chance to know everybody. And that for me growing up was very important. In 1982, that was my first year in grade 1. I was basically 5.5 years old, wala pang kindergarten. And it's another story, but not important for now. I was grade 1, first week of school, and I found myself in the director's office. Not for any disciplinary actions, at least I think, no, not for anything disciplinary, but because I was convinced I had a very important problem to discuss with him. And so I went to his office, spoke with his secretary, and the secretary made me wait. And until he was free, let me in. And I spoke with him. The director at the time was Dr. Anton Toralba. So I promptly reported to him that, I just came from the bathroom in Southridge where I had to do my business and was horrified when I realized that there were no tabos and I couldn't wash myself. I could not wash myself properly, or what I felt properly. And that there was, it was important and he had to do something about it. So he said, okay. I said, thank you. And I left his office. Um, the point is that uh, I was not turned away or left to feel that it was unimportant. And I pretty much felt that all throughout, from that very first experience in grade one, all the way to high school when I graduated in '93. Of course, Southridge was a little bit smaller then. If you feel it might be small now, it was much, much smaller then. Every batch was basically one section of 25 to 30 students. But we, I felt comfortable speaking and approaching anybody in the school. I myself am relatively reserved. I am not the most sociable person in general. Uh, my younger brother, who's also a graduate of Southridge, probably got the lion's share of that trait in our family. Um, but I never was made to feel unimportant in the school, and that for me helped me to gain confidence in the person that I am now, because I was able to do things that I probably would not have been able to do in a larger school. You know, I've um, I've been able to join elocution contests, public speaking contests in Southridge. From grade one, I was joining. We were all making Christmas plays and presenting them in front of the school. So again, those experiences could get drowned out when you're among thousands of students. Now, in my time, again, as I said, we were 25 students to one teacher. Now it's all what, 12 to 15 is to one. So it, for me, for my wife and I, we feel it gives the teachers a chance to know the students better. Sorry, I forgot to add. No, aside from the ratio, Southridge also puts in the mentorship program, which goes back all the way. In our time, it was called a tutor, where one teacher is specifically assigned to one student, where they have regular chats to discuss what the students might be going through, difficulties, or what accomplishments they feel that they've done their stay in school. So, like I was saying, just last week or just the other week, we had our first chat for this grade six with my son's mentor, who's also now his class advisor, Mr. Charbet. And the experience we had this past one, I have to say, basically helped strengthen my confidence in the school, because I appreciated Mr. Charbet's effort to get to know my son almost as well as we do, as my wife and I do. His quirks, sorry, his what he enjoys doing. It was refreshing to see that the information came from Mr. Charvet himself. And then my wife ended up with saying, to each other, yeah, that's it. That's what he has the tendency to do, or where he normally falls short. That smallness, that intimacy of Southridge, I think, for me was very important growing up. Help build my foundation or my character more so. And then I hope it does the same for my son. And being able to directly go to the teachers and talk to them, formally and pleasantly, and For me, it's a big factor rather than to have to go through some chain of command like other schools that you can't talk to the teacher directly because you have to go to the class advisor or first the parent rep and then go to the class advisor or the level head, etc., etc. So those for me were the three main factors that helped my wife and I agree on enrolling our son in school. I got the chance to do all that because the population was so small, our class was so small. So I think it gave me a chance to try things I probably would normally not even have thought of doing in a larger group. Uh, as you get older, the world gets bigger. And for me, from a graduating class or from a class of 25, all throughout grade one up to fourth year, and then you enter university and your freshman batch of 1,000 plus, it's co-ed ba? So it adds to you know, the school when you get to university or you get to work, no longer will guide you as much. You're pretty much on your own. So you hope that your child's foundations, his character, is developed well enough to cope properly. I have to say, even before I was invited to give this testament, of that, I was relatively surprised and impressed with how quickly Southridge was able to adjust to the shift to online programming, online schooling, because this pandemic thing is scenario was really there was no precedent, but Southridge was able to adjust quickly. The school was called off on the last week, I believe, of the prior school year. So all that was left for Southridge to do was, I believe, the final exams. So within that last 2 weeks, the students, were given of course, the parents, everyone's scrambling, were given their final exams. They took the final exams at home and submitted, and the school year ended. But how they adjusted the next school year, going into Google Classroom as the platform, was quite impressive. I'm no expert, so I can't say whether Google Classroom is the best platform there is. But I have to say that from my son's perspective, prior to that, he had never really used a computer. But he was able to adjust quickly with the help of the teachers to use the platform. We, to be honest, are hardly ever on top of him for the online schooling. He comes to us when he has problems with his homework or he doesn't understand certain topics. Well, I guess for me, technical difficulties at home. But overall, he's I think mastered it quite well, and he doesn't anymore need reminders for anything. So I'm pretty happy with the way Southridge has handled uh, the shift to online learning. And as early as now, and maybe even earlier, I am pretty sure they're already training for the different possibilities in the coming school year. Thank you for your time. This was much longer than what I thought it would be, but I hope it was enough and kept your interest. It's thank you to Southridge for inviting me to do this, and thank you also to the parents. To you parents for considering Southridge. I don't think you will regret it. Um, there's no perfect school. I won't claim that Southridge is perfect, but I appreciate very much the effort that Southridge puts into its program and the openness of Southridge when you feel or when parents feel that something could be done better, and when they feel something could be done better, then they open the discussion as well. So for me, that's probably one of the biggest things that pluses of Southridge, the fact that they are willing to discuss, sit down and discuss and open a conversation with the parents and the students. So there, thank you very much, and good luck on your decision. And hopefully, we will meet each other one day in Southridge when things get better for all of us. Thank you.